Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about reinforcement. Next one, if you hadn't guessed. Okay. Yeah. No, it's fine. So yeah, I'm going to be focusing on reinforcement, sort of how and why it is used, whether it's good, a particular application in special needs education, and then a brief bit of why it's perhaps not good. Well, no, it's still good, but why it's not the best. Okay, go on, continue. Is it done? Yes. Okay. So there's lots of research support for using reinforcement and giving rewards in a classroom setting, such as Madsen et al. He said that he found that simply having rules and sort of having a set. I remember being in primary school, seeing like the list of rules of conduct and stuff on the sort of wall, saying what you should do. That's not enough to sort of shape behaviour and create appropriate behaviour, but getting approval from teachers for appropriate behaviour whilst they ignore inappropriate, that is effective, much more than simply just having rules. And Partin et al., he kind of briefly outlined lots of teachers' motives for using rewards, and he said that basically the whole reason they use it is to decrease inappropriate behaviour and increase appropriate behaviour. So it's sort of just to get the kids to behave better and sit down and shut up. And yeah, rewards act as positive reinforcement. So sort of you do something good, you're given a reward, and it increases the likelihood of you doing that reward, of you doing that behaviour again. And then Van der Mars found that in a PE lesson, giving, what was it? Yeah, verbal praise reduced off-task behaviour. So sort of if you like reward kids for doing the right thing, then it increases their engagement with what they're learning, and then also makes them more focused. But Hendelong and Lepper outlined a few areas of concern. The main one is that for rewards and praise, particularly to be effective, it needs to be felt as sincere. So if like you just say, oh yeah, well done, go away, then that's not going to really be that effective, because the child's going to sort of realise that you're not being that sincere. And yeah, it reminds me of, I can't remember who it was, it's a comedian, and he talks about how children sort of nowadays, they're just given praise and rewards for just doing anything. Like, I don't know, turning up, having a book and just saying like, thank you. He's like, oh, well done for saying thank you, here's a gold star. And I mean, like in primary school, like the fronts of books are just like covered with stickers, and like every page is just absolutely covered with stickers. And I think this is a problem with sort of sincerity, because if you just praise everything, then you sort of overuse it and you risk losing some of that sincerity. But yeah, so while he outlined sort of an area of concern, he still found that praise sort of makes children more positively engaged. Next one. No, back. Yeah, so now I'm going to, you just sort of put reinforcement in education into Google Scholar, and it's just like every other study is about sort of ADHD or autism spectrum disorders and special needs education, and it's such like a massive area that I think it kind of needs to be mentioned. And so Broden found that token reinforcement used in a special education class reduced disruptive behaviour, but not only that, it increased study levels. And then Fredrickson found that again, that rewards go beyond, in special education, rewards go beyond just shaping behaviour, and they actually increase engagement with the material and make the kids perform better. So that's why it's sort of those two studies show that in special needs education particularly, rewards and reinforcement can be used very effectively to not only create appropriate behaviour, but actually help the kids do better in their education, which is kind of big. And then Pelham, he found that whilst using reinforcement was highly beneficial, to see the most effective results, it needed to be combined with a drug to treat ADD. And I think this is kind of really controversial, because there's, who is it, Ken Robinson. He did a TED talk, and he talks about a highly influential dancer and how when she was young, she went to see, have you seen it? Yeah. How she went to see like a therapist, and how she just couldn't sit still in class and was doing not as well as other kids. So her mum took her to a therapist, and like it says how the therapist and the mum he turned on the radio and then walked out the room, and they just looked in and saw her dancing, and the therapist said to the mum, like, she's not like got a problem, she's just a dancer. And then so she went down the dancing path and sort of she's like a millionaire, worked with Andrew Lloyd Webber, worked on Cats and stuff. And then at the end he says how that therapist sort of realised her potential, whereas another person would have stuck her on medication, told her to calm down. And that's sort of where I think the using drugs bit comes sort of, I don't know, are you killing off creativity? You're almost creating like a hierarchy of, I remember reading a blog saying about how there's different, intelligence isn't just like one IQ score, and if you haven't got a high IQ in maths or whatever IQ measures, then you're stupid, you're never going to succeed in life. But it's like not that. Intelligence is sort of multifaceted and so you can be creative. Like you might be very good with music and not so good at math. That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. And I just think if you're using sort of drugs to try and force behaviour, you're kind of almost playing God, really. Because I mean, imagine if I became a teacher, I don't like it when people don't stir sugar into tea. I mean, who am I to say that that's appropriate or inappropriate behaviour? Because it's like, I don't like it when they don't stir sugar into tea. I'm sure many other people don't, but who am I to say that I should be giving someone drugs to make them stir the sugar into tea? It's kind of, yeah, I think it's a big, highly controversial topic, and yeah, it's kind of too big for this presentation, but yeah, maybe another one. Hang on. Where is it? And yeah, and then finally with special education, Cosden, he kind of outlined that children in special education, they have unique challenges which you just don't see in children in sort of mainstream education. For example, what was it? I've completely forgotten. Oh yeah, in autism spectrum disorders, they found it more effective when the child chose what reward they had, because like normally it's teacher gives you something, gives you praise, gives you a gold star, whereas in children with autism they found that it was more effective when the child chose what reward they received. So it's kind of, yes, reinforcement can be used effectively in special needs education, but it can't just be extrapolated straight from mainstream. You kind of need to identify certain, not problems, just differences that need to be overcome. So yes, next slide. So yeah, now I'll talk about or some issues with using reinforcement. Canela suggested that it stifles creativity and autonomy, because when you give children rewards, inevitably they're just going to work towards the reward, because they don't really want to learn, they just want to cover their book with gold stars or to feel like special. And this is kind of confirmed by Deci, who said that external rewards reduce intrinsic motivation. So kind of children value the praise they're getting above their education. And this is obviously quite bad. So yeah, next slide. So yeah, and then it's kind of, I found it quite interesting, but Deci and then Cameron and Pearce have a sort of bit of back and forth, because Deci came out with, on the other side, on 1971, saying how rewards reduce intrinsic motivation, and then Cameron and Pearce came out and basically said, no, you're wrong, it doesn't at all. And then that was a meta-analysis, and then Deci, 1999, came back and was just like, no, you're completely stupid, you messed up this meta-analysis, you, confused things like locus of control with causality, and then Deci said, you're wrong, we're right. And then at the exact same time, the spring 2001, both Cameron and Deci, and you can see it sort of, more people get involved as it goes along. But yeah, at the exact same time, these two guys both published papers saying that their opinion was right and their view was right. And it's kind of, I think it just emphasizes the controversial, not quite confused nature, how you have some people saying that rewards are good and some people saying rewards are bad. And there's not sort of one defined opinion on sort of whether rewards are good or whether they're bad. So basically there is a lot of research that says that reward use in classrooms is very effective and it's very good and it should be used, but the kind of varied nature of studies suggests that maybe you should look at it with a skeptical eye and sort of be careful about how you use it so you remain sincere and reward the appropriate behaviours. So yes. Okay, thank you for listening. Any questions? No? Okay.